So I nearly quit streaming and making YouTube content. Yeah, that's this video. What's going on, YouTube? Chrono here. Welcome back to the channel. So you guys have probably noticed I have not been super active over the past month or so. Well, last 3 weeks, close to a month. And there's been a lot going on. And I kind of wanted to walk you guys through a little bit of what's been going on in my life and basically give you guys an idea of where I've been and where the future of the channel is on its way towards. If you guys are just here because you're concerned about the future of the channel itself, I'm gonna leave a link, or I'm gonna not pin comment, but I'm going to try to remember to leave a timestamp to what that section of the video is going to be. This first half is going to be, mostly personal stuff, my life, like kind of my reasoning behind everything I've decided to do. So in case you're curious about that, maybe you just have the video playing in the background. There's nothing on screen you need to worry about in case you just want to see my face. Um, Feel free to just toss it up in the background and listen to it on your own. But if you are just interested in that portion of the video, I'm going to leave a timestamp. You can just jump ahead to that. So what's been going on? So like I mentioned, I was considering very heavily just not making YouTube and Twitch content anymore. There are a lot of factors that are involved in that, like a ton. So I'm going to just kind of go through everything with you guys, everything I've been kind of dealing with and feeling as time has gone on. So I'm sure you guys are no surprise. There's no surprise to you guys, or strangers to the fact that NGS hasn't been doing super hot, and there's not a lot going on at the moment. Granted, it's not that it hasn't been fun, but the player base tends to get into this way when things aren't super popping off. That if you're just not upset about everything alongside of them, they can get a little annoying to deal with, and on top of that, it's hard to just really kind of keep an upbeat attitude. I personally don't like to report on things I'm not a huge fan of. That's why I haven't made 30 billion videos bashing Bouncer consistently. I have been very, very vocal about my opinions on Bouncer, but I don't like making videos about things I don't like. Usually there needs to be a point to the video that I'm making, or at least have it be somewhat fun or interesting. So, I do like to offer feedback for these things. I do get that feedback to the proper channels, as well as I am very vocal about things I'm not a huge fan of, but I don't make my entire bit of content about it. So it's something that I personally have always wanted to do when I made this channel and how I wanted to go about this. So that's just something I do for me. As far as other things have been going on, I'm going to rewind a few weeks. So those of you guys who don't know, there's a video I did recently covering, I'm not even gonna say covering, but it was about some drama that happened in the PSO2 space. The point of that video specifically was to provide an example because it was such an obvious example, and it was actually just, it was perfect basically as to why I go about criticism the way that I do usually when it comes to these sort of things, and why I'm so careful about the words that I use online, my posts and things like that. And it was such a good example of it. I thought, you know what, honestly, I'll go ahead and I can give my thoughts very quickly on it, and then I can explain why I do this, and you guys can see in actual it's better than me just telling you about this. And people told me, or there were some people that went out like, oh, you shouldn't make this video, you shouldn't do this, don't stoke drama, just ignore it, let it go. And for one, I don't personally believe in, like, if we're going to be harsh on someone, that we should just be harsh on them and then immediately walk away. I do like to be factual in these situations. I mean, if I'm going to dump on someone, I'm going to dump on them for the right reasons. So I don't like to just follow the crowd in those situations, where some people did. And I'm not judging those people for doing that. It's just how I personally like to present myself, and how I want to make sure that if I am doing something and saying something, that if someone's going to hold me accountable for it in the future, then I'm covered, So that being said, that video, it was fine. It didn't do super bad, but it did, kind of some of those, not comments, but some of that situation rubbed me kind of the wrong way, because a lot of times videos that I make have to go over, or videos that I make go over my thoughts on things. Like, that's kind of that this channel has been based on, is my thoughts primarily, and then providing you guys information to make informed decisions. So like educational and then thoughts. That's mostly what this channel has been for quite some time. And somewhere down the line, I guess people didn't really care about my thoughts anymore. They just wanted to tell me what videos I should be making and not, and that kind of hurt for a little while. Now granted, you get over it. It's not a huge deal. Like I said, that video still did pretty well, but it did kind of suck to hear that people really were more concerned about how they feel I should, tackle a specific situation than what I based my entire channel around. And it felt like people aren't really listening. So that is rough, to be perfectly honest, but you get over it. You move on. Not a huge deal, but that did kind of suck for a little bit. Not to mention everything that's been going on IRL recently. So to kind of give a bit of an idea, all of that stuff going on, and then of course the usual trials and tribulations of doing YouTube content and streaming. I also had a lot going on IRL. For those of you guys who know my partner Skulls, she has been very sick, dealing with a lot of really, really, really painful illnesses, and they've affected her ability to stream and do a lot of other stuff. But along with that, it also has affected just our general lifestyle. Um, she's going to probably feel bad when she watches this video, and then of course probably hit me for not saying something sooner. But it does have an effect on me. It's that does wear on someone when you're working with them, or when you're living with them and them dealing with this sort of thing, right? Like, it's not her fault that I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning freaking out to make sure that she's okay, but like that's something that I do. When I know she's not feeling well, I know she's dealing with a bunch of stuff, is I have a deep-seated fear personally of not being available to someone who really needs me, that I care about, and that's something from a long, long time ago. So that has always sat with me for a very long time, and because of that, it's very draining on me when I know that someone that is very near and dear to me, that I care about so deeply, is not doing super well. Over time, it tends to take a toll on me, and it's something that I do to myself, not something that they push onto me. So I want to make that very clear, because it is not her fault. Skills has made it a point to try to do everything she can to make sure she's not affecting me, and it's not on her. It's just something that I do, and I really can't stop myself from doing it, because I would much rather drain myself and not feel super well than not be there available when someone I really care about needs me. So that's just something I got to work through. Not a big deal, but that is something that has weighed on me on top of everything else, right? So YouTube, Twitch, all of that. Now Skulls is doing better, which is awesome. She's back to streaming right now, actually. And I'm super, super thankful that she is going, she's able to go back to doing that, because I do enjoy seeing how much, streaming, how much joy streaming brings her as well. But moving forward from that, I also have, of course, my 9 to 5. Those who know me know that I do work full time. And that's not to say that people who work full time, or people that do content and also work full time, it's super difficult on them. Like I know a lot of people do this, but that also adds on to the whole stress factor. I do work customer service to an extent. Some of my job is customer service, is that my job involves customer service. Meaning that, by the end of my day, I'm ready to not talk to anyone. I'm ready to sit quietly in my room and just play video games and not think about these sort of things a lot of time. Because as those of you guys who know who have worked customer service, it's very volatile. Some days are great, some days suck. So it's just par for the course, something you have to deal with. But I digress. That is also added on to the situation itself. And then on top of that, I also want to move. For any of you guys who follow the channel for a very long time know that a while back I had to move very quickly. I'm not going to go into super long detail about it, but my old landlord, unfortunately, some bad stuff happened, and he could no longer be my landlord, and I had to move in 2 weeks. I went from living relatively comfortably, being able to afford everything I wanted, everything I needed, build up a lot of stuff, was living, honestly, a very comfortable life. I actually enjoyed what I had. And in 24 hours, all of that changed. I had to move 2 weeks. So that was super difficult. Lucky enough for me, Mom Tashvi needed to find a new place, because she was moving out of her place as well. So we came together, got a house, and I basically had half a house to myself to just chill in, because I paid bills and all that sort of things, paid rent, paid bills, all that stuff, and basically had half a house to myself. Then of course you guys know the some time passed. I told myself, you know what, I'll look for a place if something becomes convenient. I don't need to jump out right this very second, because I'm on my own, right? And I'd been on my own for a long time. So being back home for a little bit didn't really bother me too much, because I didn't really feel like I was back home. I felt like I was living with a roommate almost to an extent. But that roommate just happened to be Mom Tashvi, which is totally fine by me. I told myself that I wouldn't really worry about finding a new place unless it was super convenient, or it was or I found a partner, I was dating someone, right? Fast forward a little bit, that yeah, that illness that spread through the entire world, that shut everything down and made the housing market really bad. Not that it was great, but you know what I mean. Yeah, that happened, and we were all hunkered down, and ain't nobody moving in all of that mess. So fast forward a little bit more. Now the world's starting to become a bit more normal with everything that's been going on, and now I've got my wonderful partner Skulls with me, and we want our own place. It's just that the reality of the situation is that we're not comfortable all that much, and we would like to be much more comfortable. So trying to deal with saving money for that as well. And then you've got medical bills you got to deal with, which, I mean, again, not her fault. I was definitely the person that pushed for going to doctors and things like that, because that's something I don't really, what's what I'm looking for. I don't really concede on. It's like, when it comes down to it, yeah, that stuff is expensive, but I'd rather pay a large bill than someone die. That's just the reality of the situation itself. So that is a pressure all its own. Then making content and all this other stuff, and like you start to see where all of that builds up over time. And then on top of that, the whole point of my channel existing in the first place, I'm going to go ahead and date myself a bit, but the point of my channel existing in the first place is because no one was doing this. When I started making content about PSO2, this was back in JP time, or back when we played on JP only, back when the game was only over in Japan. No one's really making content like this. No one was covering things like Station Plus for global players. No one was really making the types of videos that I was making at the time, and I was also learning. So I figured I could learn while also making videos, giving my thoughts, running content, just having a good time. And it did really well for me when things came to global. The channel popped off quite a bit. Granted, didn't pop off as much as it could have. The amount of work kind of got to me, and I tried to get some assistance, but it did kind of fall by the wayside a little bit. But that's not to say that the assistance wasn't great. It just it didn't work out the way that I wanted it to. And when it came right down to it, it kind of fell into a situation of me kind of handling things on my own again. So all of that kind of compounds on top of itself. And when I look at it, I was the only one doing this, but that's not the case anymore. When you feel like you're the only one doing something for a long period of time, everyone else that comes around that does the thing that you do, it's like, oh, well, now they're doing it. That's just kind of how it works on YouTube. Um, Occasionally people come up with good ideas and they do something, and then everyone else sees the success of that thing and they try to do that thing as well and their own spin on it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And there's a lot of things that I did, and I was the one who did it. And then a lot of other people started doing it as well. And some have been successful and some haven't been. And shout out to those individuals that are successful. It's super awesome. I'm glad you guys are doing it. And I do watch a lot of people's content. I mostly try to wait until after I make the content I want to make to watch anyone else's content. So I'm usually fairly behind, unfortunately. But I do, check out their content, and I do appreciate, my colleagues in the PSO2 space. You guys are awesome. And it's like having a little extended family that I really do enjoy. But that all to say that I'm no longer the only person doing this. So all of this compounded on everything else that's been going on, I really sat down for a moment and I thought to myself, why am I doing it? What's the point? I'm not the only one doing it anymore. I'm super stressed. I've got all of these things compounded on top of each other that I'm trying to keep up with. And I feel like in all most cases, I'm on my own doing all of it. Granted, I get support when support is, important. I've got a wonderful partner. She's also doing her own thing, dude. Like, she's also making content. She's also doing YouTube. She's also dealing with Twitch. She's streaming literally right now. And she does support me in a lot of ways. And there are some things I still have to do on my own, and that's totally understandable. But it really sat down and thought about it. And I'm like, why am I doing this? Because when you really think about it, I've got 9 to 5. I've got YouTube and Twitch. And I've also got IRL, where I have to still make time for my partner. For her, she she streams the YouTube content, and then afterwards, that's her time to spend with me. And for me, it's work and then YouTube and then stream and then work on content. And I have to fit in, of course, time with her. But for those of you guys who have partners, you know what I mean. You want to hang out with them. You want to spend time with them. The time I've spent hanging out with Skulls over the past, few weeks has been awesome. I've been on the side playing, some Blue Protocol to learn about that game. Granted, yes, it's fun, but I've also been playing it primarily so that way I can do a lot of what I did for Global PSO2 when Blue Protocol comes to global and provide information. I'm learning a lot of it over on JP, and going to provide it to you guys over here when it comes to global. So stay tuned for that. And then finally making a Genshin account that I've wanted to make for a while now. Yes, it's a swords only account. Yes, it was made primarily because I'll Hate Them was on a rerun banner. And yes, I pulled for I'll Hate Them and Kaza and got both of their weapons because it was like a perfect banner for me to pull on. But all that being said, I had a lot of time to really spend with my partner and just take a kick, or just kick back and just relax. All the pressure just kind of pushed off to the side and mellowed out a bit. And it felt really good. And that's when I really thought to myself, I could just not do this anymore. And I'd feel pretty good about it. So I took some time, took some chrono healing time, as I like to call it, and really just kind of was a regular person. Outside of making my weekly video, I didn't really do anything else. I took care of, my little family. I worked my 9 to 5. I kept up with the games I wanted to keep up with, and that was really about it. But I felt like something was still missing. And when it really boils down to it, I do like making content. So here's what's going to happen moving forward. Here's what we're going to do. This kind of all culminates back to the beginning. So if you popped in from the timestamp, the answer is I'm not going to stop making content. We're still doing YouTube. We're still doing Twitch stuff. But there's going to be a bit of a caveat and some things that are going to happen as well. First and foremost, and this is going to sound crazy, but I'm going to clear my ban list on Twitch. Getting rid of it. I'm going to. For a while, I was getting really irritated with a lot of things that were going on the channel. And I just kind of got rid of some people from the channel I really didn't want to deal with. And hey, look, if you're one of those people, I apologize. Maybe I wasn't mad at you. I was mad at the situation itself. But in most cases, a lot of times people do earn it. But there's a caveat going along with this as well. And that means that people that are currently dealing with, you've been warned. If people are making things uncomfortable for me or uncomfortable with my chat, you're done. I'm not really going to deal with it. I'm a very patient person, that I have to be very patient for work. And this is kind of like my comfortable space. I'm not going to let chat be uncomfortable. I'm not going to let me be uncomfortable. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of it. I'm also just not going to deal with anyone being overly negative anymore. I've let people kind of slide because sometimes they're friends and things of that sort, man. But if the only reason you're showing up is to complain, I don't want you to show up anymore. That's the reality of the situation. I'm not your complaint box. I can't take any more of your negativity consistently. I can only take in so much on a day-to-day basis. I'm not saying you can't come in and complain, but ask yourself, what are you realistically here for? And if it's only to complain, then that's not really something you should be here to do consistently. And I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not going to really get rid of a ton of people because of that. I'm mostly just going to stop paying attention. Some people might get dono walled occasionally. I'm probably going to harder dono wall some of these things just because I don't really want to deal with those sort of things anymore when I'm streaming. I don't want to dread going live. I don't want to dread making a video. And in some cases I have in the past, and I'm just not doing that anymore. So we're going to be covering tons of PSO2 content, of course, as we always have. I've got videos recorded that are going to be going up on the channel. Tomorrow is the weekly reset, so you'll see the weekly video as per usual. You're going to see some other videos that I haven't made yet that needed to get made, and they've finally been recorded, and those will be going up live on the channel over the course of this week. But I really just want to say thank you guys. I know I've had lots of moments where I've just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth for a week or 2 weeks or a month, and this has been the first time that I've really considered just making it permanent. And I'm glad I decided not to, because I really don't want to. I think I'd really miss doing this, but I also need to be very straightforward about, if I'm going to continue to do this, I want to make sure that I'm really enjoying doing it. So I want to make this video just to let you guys know that, and let you guys know that you're awesome. And if you watch this video all the way to the end, I really appreciate you guys, every single one of you. You think I may not remember certain individuals, but I promise you, your names do pop out to me. I do pay attention. I do look at them. I do get super overwhelmed at the number of comments I have on YouTube all the time. And I do read them, but I don't always answer them because sometimes I just never get back to them in time. And as I stay fairly busy, sometimes I just have to turn my brain off. So, but that's it. I'm starting to ramble on. Hopefully we covered everything I wanted to cover in this video, because this is the third time I've tried recording it, and the other 2 times I wasn't super happy with how it ended up. If you guys do have any questions about what we'll be doing moving forward, I do know, like, like I mentioned, Twitch, we're going to kind of clean up and bring back to a little bit of where we were in the past. I do plan on playing Blue Protocol when it releases. We'll probably see some Genshin pop up on the channel. The Swords Only account is actually a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun with it. The restrictions that are put in place, man, dude, all I'm going to say is I went all the way to adventure rank 45 without a healer. I had a shielder and not a great one. I had them built semi-damage like an idiot. So I went really far without a healer. Finally got one. I lucked out. Got Gene on the standard banner. So we're living life pretty good. Finally got Bennett. So things are looking pretty good on the Swords Only account. But yeah. So that's definitely something we're going to be pushing for in the future. We're definitely going to play some more Genshin. Also planning on now this is somewhat tentative still, but I think I want to make my own alliance in PSO2. For the longest time, I kind of always been a part of other alliances, and though I don't dislike the alliance I'm in currently, I've never really felt like it's something of my own. So I do want to kind of build something up myself, and it's going to require assistance, and that might be something we do relatively soon. I don't know. That's not that I dislike, of course, Karo's alliance. He's a good friend of mine. He's been probably one of the best creative friends I've had in a long time in this space. He's super helpful. He's always paid attention. He's always looked out for me. And I will always be forever grateful to him for that. So there's nothing along those lines or anything like that. I just think I kind of want my own thing. And after I, almost kind of felt like I shoehorned him into accepting my alliance, into his own alliance. And I'm now looking at breaking up and making my own thing, which is kind of annoying. So apologies, Kara, if you're watching this video, but I do appreciate you very much so, friend. I think that's pretty much everything, guys. I will be releasing more videos coming up in the future. We will be covering the things we want to cover. I will just warn you, if you don't want what you say, put into a video, maybe don't post it on a public forum. Maybe post it, privately. So that way we don't cover it. I'm being I'm being a little bit petty, but it just that whole situation just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being amazing parts of this channel, and I look forward to seeing you guys very soon. Take care, everyone. Peace out.